Before Turkey decided to enter into the war, the Turkish government encountered two problems within the bounds of its own domains. One of the problems was the question of the Armenians, who had for almost a century aspired to separation and to the formation of an independent kingdom, and the other was the attitude of the Nestorian tribes. The Nestorians had defied the Turkish authority and had always maintained their independence in the Assyrian mountains. The problem of the Armenians and also that of the Assyrians, who were dwelling in the interior of Turkey and who were at the mercies of the Turks, according to the Turks, needed a final solution. The problem was to be easily solved by a program of massacres, exile, and diabolical attempts at their total extermination. But the Nestorian warriors had to be handled with the cunning diplomacy of the Turkish statesmanship. These Nestorians, to be sure, were small in numbers, but they were regarded then as the sharpest thorn in the flesh of the Turkish Empire, particularly if they were to be supplied with guns and ammunition from Russia. Consequently, a Turkish governor came to Bashkala, the capital of that vilayet, and from there he sent some high officials as his emissaries to greet the Assyrian patriarch of that time, and to extend to his beatitude a most courteous invitation to become the guest of the Turkish government at his official residence. At this time, the Russian forces had secured a strong foothold in the northwestern province of Persia, which immediately adjoined the southeastern frontiers of Turkey. The patriarch accepted the invitation, and at his arrival in Bashkala, he was received with all the ostentatious honors the Oriental monarchs can bestow. The patriarch and his people were promised absolute protection, together with a large sum of money to be distributed among the warriors of the mountains, on the condition that the head of the Assyrian church should pledge himself in writing that he would not allow the Nestorian tribes to take up arms against the Turkish government, and also pledge himself under oath that he would not side with Russia. But an intellect less keen than that of the patriarch could have perceived clearly the motive of the mischievous propositions, and could have seen the trap which was being prepared to be set for the extermination of these people as well. The patriarch, under the pretense of, and of course according to his custom also in all such matters, of consulting the leaders of his people, begged to be allowed to do so, and departed with a broken spirit and a heavy heart. He fully realized that the floods of Islam's hate were in motion, and that Turkey was determined to inaugurate her campaign of extermination against the mountain Nestorians as well. The above-mentioned patriarch is which of the following: Mar Abraham Shimun, Mar Rubel Shimun, Mar Benjamin Shimun, Mar Yosef Khnanishu. Since its beginning in the 1830s, the American mission at Urmia had inadvertently mingled religion and secular matters, preaching the good news of America as well as the gospel of Christ. As Hugo Muller noted in his wartime pamphlet to the missionaries and their clients, the Stars and Stripes symbolized and united two great causes, the cause of Christ and the cause of America. Muller claimed that many of those who saw the flag regarded it as a symbol of Protestant Christianity, quite as much as they did as a symbol of America. Mixing of religion and government, confounding Christian religion with American nationalism, affected the mission's work in Iran. Thus, from the start, and without being conscious it was doing so, the American mission encouraged secular national aspirations: Assyrians, Armenians, Kurdish, and Iranian. The Great War in the Middle East came to take on the aspect of religious nationalism, of a crusade in the face of a jihad. Despite sincere and repeated statements of beneficent intentions toward people of all creeds, Muslims included, under the pressure of war, American Presbyterian missionaries came to see the Allied cause as Christian. They believed pan-Islam to be their foe. On the other side, there seems little doubt that the Ottoman government sought to use Islam as a political weapon, proclaiming jihad and seeking to mobilize all Muslims against Russians and their allies. Iran, of course, was at an early stage of its 20th century political development, but we can see beneath the secular nationalism of many Iranians, such as the pro-German Democrats, a popular nationalism which did not distinguish between Iran and Islam. This reality is echoed in the American missionaries' own phraseology, where, quote, Persian, meant Muslim as well as Iranian. As is one missionary's statement about his early days in Azerbaijan, quote, "Before I learned Turkish, I needed a translator to talk to the Persians." It is not just Iranian nationalism which is involved here. There is a broader context. The Great War exacerbated many sorts of modern national feelings, often with exceptionally nasty consequences. In the Russian Empire, for example, the rise of Bolshevism obscured the rise of many competing nationalisms. Despite turbulent times, these missionaries created many institutions. One of these was the structure depicted here. Which one of the structures mentioned below is it? The Golpashan Building, the compound of the American Mission Building, the Fisk Seminary, American College of Urmia. Truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that, when they are mixed with definitiveness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire for their translation into achievement or other material objects. Many years ago, Edwin C. Barnes discovered how true it is that men really do think and become successful. His discovery did not come about at one sitting. It came little by little, beginning with a burning desire to become a business associate of this great inventor. One of the chief characteristics of Barnes' desire was that it was definite. He wanted to work with this inventor, not for him. Observe carefully the description of how he went about translating his desire into reality, and you will have a better understanding of the 13 principles which led to his success. When this desire or impulse of thought first flashed into his mind, he was in no position to act upon it. Two difficulties stood in his way. He did not know this inventor, and he did not have enough money to pay his railroad fare to Orange, New Jersey. These difficulties were sufficient to have discouraged the majority of men from making any attempt to carry out the desire. But his was no ordinary desire. He was so determined to find a way to carry out his desire that he finally decided to travel by blind baggage rather than be defeated. He presented himself at the inventor's laboratory and announced he had come to go into business with the inventor. In speaking of the first meeting between Barnes and the inventor years later, he stood there before me, looking like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come for. I had learned from years of experience with men that when a man really desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it, he is sure to win. I gave him the opportunity he asked for, because I saw he had made up his mind to stand by until he succeeded. Subsequent events proved that no mistake was made. The above-mentioned inventor was which of the following: Alexander Graham Bell, Henry Ford, Adam Smith, Thomas Edison. What is the similarity between the above slides discussing desire and the moral of the story of Shireen and Farhad from the Persian literature? Unfortunately, the Christian Assyrians are rarely given much attention in history books. When most people think of the Assyrians, they often think of the ancient Assyrians, not the Christian Assyrians. Yet, like their predecessors, the Christian Assyrians also made noteworthy contributions to civilization, some of which have been carelessly attributed to other groups. Much of their noteworthy contributions were in the area of spiritual and intellectual endeavors. Here are only some of them. Between the 4th and 6th centuries, they revived the knowledge accumulated by the Greeks and translated it into Syriac and later from Syriac to Arabic. This included many religious works as well as the works of important thinkers like Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates. They also made their own special contributions in science, philosophy, and medicine. In the 9th century, for example, Assyrian scholar, physician, and translator Hunayn ibn Ishaq wrote the 10 Treatises of Ophthalmology, which was used as a textbook until 1800 AD. The book provided important information about the eyes and its anatomy in minute detail, including discussions about eye diseases and the treatment for them. In the area of architecture, it was the Assyrians who freely began to use the parabolic shape to create vaulted and domed chambers. During the 9th century, Job of Edessa, an Assyrian writer who translated many scientific works from Greek to Syriac, was credited with evolving a physical theory of the universe, which replaced matter with a new theory, a theory of forces, which preceded the discoveries in quantum mechanics. Their contributions were many and significant, but of them all, again for the purpose of this article, the two crowning achievements were create a missionary system to spread Christianity throughout the world. With only a Bible, cross, and some bread, the missionaries followed the Silk Route to the east, delivering their message of peace and a loving God to the world. Along the way, they established churches. By the 12th century, the Assyrian Church of the East became the largest church in the world, with over 80 million followers, making it larger than the Roman Catholic and Greek Orthodox churches combined. At its peak, their missionaries had reached China, Japan, and even the Philippines. Number 2, established the first university. This school, with 3 departments, theology, philosophy, and medicine, became an important spiritual center for intellectual development, and it was used as the model for a monastery school at the Vivarium, an estate in southern Italy, in about 540 AD. Such achievements provide us a glimpse into the sophistication of their civilization, which evolved over time. They also provide a glimpse into the character of the Assyrians, exemplified by their transition from a military to a peace-loving society, a direct result of their Christian development that began in 33 AD. Unfortunately, this peaceful and cultured people faced a real threat roughly around 630 AD with the rise of Islam. The above-mentioned university is which of the following? University of Zohar, University of Edessa, Nineveh University, Nisiban.